Hello my beautifuls, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tiah. In this video I'm going to show you guys how to crochet this headband, and as you can see it's a very simple one. I usually tend to do very simple projects for you guys who are beginners and you're looking to learn, but starting as simple as possible, because that is the key to learn something, is you start from the basics and you build yourself up. So I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do this simple headband slash ear warmer slash whatever you want to call it, but this is pretty much the project of the day. So hopefully you will join me and watch the video to the end. And yeah, so that's pretty much what we're gonna be working on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. I think I must have over 100 videos by now, so hopefully you will be able to pick up on something as well on the channel that you would like to do. But for now, this is what we're gonna be focusing on. So without talking too much, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so before we go ahead and get started with this project, I'm going to be talking to you guys as per usual about all the materials that I'm going to be using for it. And as you can see here, I have these two yarns. I'm just going to talk about the first one here, which is what we're going to be using for the majority of this project. This one is called Impeccable Glitter by Loops and Threads. This is all the measurements here. So as you can see, you have your yards, your ounces, your meters, your grams. It's a medium weight number 4. Recommended crochet hook size is a 5mm crochet hook or an or H8 US. And this is of course how you take care of your product after you've created it right here. The color is called Cherry. And what else should you know? This is 97% acrylic and 3% other fiber. And I've used this yarn before. I think other fiber is just this glitter material that they weave into the yarn here. Okay. Now I couldn't find these particular yarn exactly in the white as well, so I'm gonna be using this white color, which is a little bit different, still from Loops and Threads, but it's a little bit different. This one is Snuggly Wuggly, like I said, from Loops and Threads. It's the measurements are all here as well. What else? It's a lightweight number 3. And they're recommending a 4mm crochet hook here, or US G6, but of course I'm gonna continue to use the crochet hook that I'm gonna be using with this one here. What else? And then of course the color is called white. And what else? I think it is 100% acrylic. Let me just look for it somewhere here. Cannot find it. I think it is 100% acrylic. If I'm wrong, oh, there you go. It's 100% acrylic. Okay, so there you go. So I'm just gonna be using a tiny bit of this to do a little bit of accessory on the side of the headband. But yeah, so I'm gonna be using that. Okay, for my crochet hook size, I'm gonna be using a 5.5mm crochet hook. It's a choice of mine. You don't have to use the same one. You could use the 5 that is recommended for your majority of the work here. And that is also I9 in the US. Okay, I have my darning needle here for weaving my work, my ends in, or for sewing anything that I need to sew. I have my tape measure as well as my scissors. Okay, so that is pretty much all the materials that we need for this project. So let's not waste any more time and let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with this project. So I'm going to start with a foundation chain so we can go ahead and get the band of our headband started. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit of a longer tail here so I can connect my two pieces together. Okay, so to do a foundation chain, I'm going to start with a slip knot, and this is how I do my slip knot here, just like that. That's done, and then I'm going to start with a chain of 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I have my foundation chain of 15 here, and I'm going to start my first row. I'm going to skip this 15th chain here, so this one, not the one where the hook is coming through, but the one just right underneath that. That's my 15th chain. I'm going to skip that, and in this next one here, I'm going to go in the back of the chain. Oops, I'm going to go in the back of that chain and do a single crochet stitch, just like that. And then I'm going to move on to the next stitch next to it and do my single crochet again in the back of the chain. And I'm just going to quickly show you here, if you can see, this is the front of the chain. It has these V shapes. The back has these lumps that are called bridges, and we're going through those lumps in the back of the chain, foundation chain. And we're going to do the single crochets in the back of the chain all the way to the end. By the time that you get back to the end, or you get to the end of this row, you're going to have 14 stitches all together. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end. So that is the end of my first row here. So I have 14 stitches all together. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my second row. I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and I'm going to be working in the back of the back stitch of the stitches here. So as you can see, I've already done my my chain one, and if you look at this stitch, this is the first stitch right here, right after the chain one. I'm going to go in the back loop and grab that back loop like this and do my single crochet, and then I'm going to do that in every single stitch to the end. In the very final last one, I'm going to go through both, because that's just how I do it. If you prefer to just go through the back all throughout the 14 stitches, that is up to you. But for me, I find that it makes the ends very even if I go through both loops for the final stitch on both sides, whether it's this side or the other side. But it's only the end, not the start. So don't start by going through both loops. You finish only by going through the final stitch, going through the both loops. Okay, so I'm almost at the end here of my row 2, and as you can see, it creates this design right here, which is pretty much what we're aiming for. It's one of my favorite stitches, by the way. It's called back loop single crochet. Okay, and as you can see here, I have just one stitch left to go. So instead of going through just the back, I'm going to go through both and finish it off like that. Okay, and that's the second row completed. I'm going to start the third row with you, and then I'm gonna have you guys pretty much build up the number of rows that you require for your band. I am only going to show you this, and then you're going to build up the rest of it until we come to the next step of the project. So again, every single row you start with a chain one, and then you turn your work, and then in the very first stitch right after your chain one, you're going to start your single crochet back loop right there, and then you move on to the next stitch, and to the next, and to the next, and to the next, until you get to this last one where you go through both loops. And keep in mind, you should have 14 stitches all throughout this part of the project. So however many rows you end up doing, depending on the circumference of your head or the person that you're making the hat for, or the band for, then you need to make sure you have the exact same number of stitches every time. Because if you have less, it means you lost one along the way. If you have more, it means you added somewhere along the way, and that's gonna make your work look a little bit crooked or just not even. Okay, so that's the end of our row 3. So we're just going to repeat this all the way. I'm going to do about 72 to 74 rows, which is going to be about the circumference of my head. So my head circumference is about 21, almost 22 inches, and I usually do about 70. If I do exactly this design here, I do about 72 to 74 rows, and that gives me the exact circumference of my head with a little bit of a stretch. Okay, all right, so go ahead and do that, and when I get to my 73, 74, I'll come back to you and we will go ahead and get started on the next step of the project. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed the number of rows that I require for my headband. So as you can see here, I actually ended up doing it wasn't 74 I was talking about, it was 64. 74 would be quite big, so I actually realized it as I was working, and I was like, oh, I have a lot more to go. And then I tried it on my head and it was obviously already the right size, so I apologize for that. So hopefully you did not go ahead and do 74, because otherwise it would be really big. But I also trust that you measured yourself before you started working on your project. Okay, so like I said, my head circumference is about 21 inches usually. So as you can see this, without stretching it at all, it's about 17 inches. But if I go ahead and just put this down here and stretch it, it's gonna get me to my 21 that I'm talking about. So you see that this is super stretchy. And if you do your actual work to reach the number to reach the inches that you're looking for, then it will be extremely loose, because it will be really big at that point. Because this is really stretchy, it's always best to do it a couple of inches lower or smaller, and then with the stretch you can get to the number of inches that you're looking for. Okay, all right, so I have my 74 rows here. Sorry, why do I keep saying 74? This is, I'm confusing you guys and myself. I have done a total of 64 rows here. I don't know why I keep adding 10, forgive me about that. But 64 rows that I've done, and this gives me, with it being stretched, it's giving me the 21 inches that I need for the circumference of my head. All right, that is good. Now we can go ahead and join our work. All right, so you're just gonna hold your work really nice and even like this, so your stitches are matching up. Okay, and then you're going to grab your darning needle, and we're going to join these two parts together before we move on to the next part of the project. Okay, now this is where you're gonna, let me see if I can, yeah, I think that's good if I could just move my hands up like this. So we're gonna pretty much, so the long tail that we had from the beginning of the project is what we're using, and then that way we can leave where the project ended, so we can work on this side. That is mostly the reason why I usually like to leave the tail on this end, because if we were to leave the tail after we finish, then we have to cut it off, sew these together shut, and then reconnect the yarn to continue working. So that is why I do it like this. All right, so the tail is here. I'm going to bring it right to this opposite side by just going through both loops like that, and then pulling to connect the two sides like that. And then in the next stitch right here, I'm going to grab the inside stitch. So as you can see here, these are our V shapes, and these are our V shapes here. I'm going to grab the inside of that, and then the outside of the opposite side. So I'm grabbing the inside of the stitch on the one closest to me. Well, I'm grabbing the one far away from me with this side that is closest to me. And then on the side that is furthest from me, I'm grabbing the outside part, and I just pull. And then we're going to do this all the way until you get to the end here. So go ahead and join your work and then come back when you're done. Okay, my loves, I've gone ahead and connected my band here. So as you can see, this is the section that I just joined now. So it's very seamless. You cannot see it that much at all. But nevertheless, that's where we join it. And as you can see, I have where my work ended here previously, and then this is the string that I have just brought up. I'm gonna just leave that hanging there like this, because I'm gonna work it into the project. Okay, now that we have that in there, I'm going to bring back my crochet hook, and I'm going to pretty much do a row of single crochets all along this part of the project. Okay, so I'm going to do a chain of one, flip my work, and right across here we're going to grab that first stitch, and we're going to do a single or a slip stitch there to join those two sides like that. And then I'm going to do a row of single crochet all around the this band. Okay, so we're just gonna keep doing that all the way until we get to back to this area here. And as you can see, I left the string hanging, the tail that we brought in. I know I just said I was gonna bring it in, weave it in. I'm not gonna do that right now. This will also guide me as to where the center of the work is. Okay. All right, so go ahead and do your single crochet stitches all along or around the band until you get back to where the tail is hanging. And when you get there, come back and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed my complete row of the single crochet, and this is just pretty much to establish the stitches that we're going to be able to work into. And as you can see here, I'm back to where my tail is, and I did my very last single crochet right there, and this is where my stitch started. So I'm just going to go right into that stitch there and do a slip stitch to connect these two parts like that. So as you can see, this is my headband, and or at least what is finished so far of it. Okay, now that I have that, we're going to start the next row, and I'm going to do a chain of 1 here. I'm going to turn my work back this way. Okay, and now I'm going to do rows of half double crochet in the back loop of our stitches. Okay, so to do a half double crochet, we're gonna yarn over, go into the next stitch. Okay, you have 3 loops, go through all 3 loops like that. That is a back loop half double crochet, and then you're going to move on to the very next stitch and do the same thing. And again, you're going to do this pretty much all around until you get back to where your tail is, which is right here. So go ahead and do that. Go around, do your half double crochet using the back loop stitch and half double crochet loop. Ooh. Go ahead and do this using your half double crochet in the back loop. And when you get to the beginning here where we just started, come back to the video and I will show you the next step. All right, so I have gone ahead and completed the row of my half double crochet in the back loop. And as you can see, I'm now back to where I started, which is where my tail is. And these are good guidance for you to have. So anyways, I'm going to be joining these 2 sides here by just going through to the first stitch on the other side and doing a slip stitch. And that locks in the 2 sides right there in the middle. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 1 and then turn my work. And then I'm going to do the same thing again of doing half double crochet stitches in the back loop of each stitch until I get back to this beginning here. So go ahead and do the same thing you just did, but going reversed. And when you get there, come back. And then I'm going to show you one simple thing, and then I will allow you guys to go ahead and build up your work, okay? So I will see you guys when you finish this second row here. Okay, my loves, so I've now completed the second row of the half double crochet stitch in the back loop, and as you can see here, I just finished my final one there. And now I'm going to connect these 2 sides by going on top of the first stitch on the other side and just doing a slip stitch there, and that locks that in. So I'm going to show you something a little bit different here. Okay, so this is just my preference, but you can do it different. What I usually do is when I make any of these headbands or hats or anything like that, where I join my work, I make that the back of my, it's the back of my hat or the back of my headband. So in this case, this is going to be the back of my headband. And so when I wear it, it's gonna go on like this. And this is the front of my face there, and this is going to be going on the back. Okay, and the reason I'm saying that to you is because I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to mark out about 6 stitches on this side, and we're going to do a little bit of a different work there. So I'm just gonna hold it like this. So I just line it up so that it's like right in the middle. It's like half and half. And on this side, oops, I apologize. I just punched the camera with my fist, literally. I don't know why I'm so violent with my camera. I'm kidding. I'm just, I accidentally knocked it. But anyways, so I'm just going to count 6 stitches on this corner here. So let's assume this is the middle one here. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on this one here, I'm going to put a stitch marker there. Okay, and then this one here, which is also the 6th one, I'm going to do a stitch marker there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 actually, sorry about that. So 7. So this is my middle, and then I have 3 stitches right here, including the one where the stitch marker is, and I have 3 stitches right here, including where the stitch marker is. And so I marked that off there, and I'm going to leave this here as a gap. Okay, so, and I'm going to show you how to start the next step here. So I'm just gonna go ahead, so we ended it like this, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead, after I did my slip stitch, I'm gonna do my chain 1, turn my work, and then I'm going to continue to do my half double crochets in the back loop on this side, just like we have been doing for the last 2 rows, so nothing changes at all there. And then when I get to where my stitch markers are, I am going to skip those 7 stitches, and then I'm going to continue as usual, and that gap that I'm creating there is where I'm going to do a little bit of it's pretty much gonna get pinched in that area, and I'm going to be using the white yarn for that. This is more like a Christmas theme, or you know, like holiday theme headband that you can also wear any other time of the year, by the way, because I'm not going full Christmassy per se. I'm not doing like actual Christmas, you know, full on Christmas colors, just the white and red. And so I'm just gonna finish these off here. Okay, so I just completed my last half double crochet in that stitch there. So I have 7 stitches here from one stitch marker to the other. What I will actually do is I will make it 6 because I think it's a little bit wider than I want. So I'm gonna make it 6. So let's go ahead and remove this stitch marker and do one more half double crochet in that stitch, but we're going to go through both loops for this one. I just want to make it more solid here. And then I'm going to do a chain of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to remove this stitch marker. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to remove this stitch marker and skip right to number 7 here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a half double crochet going through both loops of that stitch as well. Just makes it a little bit more solid, standing solid there. I'm just gonna redo this here because it's a little bit too tight and I cannot pull it through. There you go. And then I can remove this stitch marker because I don't need it there anymore. So this is my gap right there, like that. Okay, and so I'm going to then continue to do my half double crochets in the back loop right there, and I'm just going to continue to do this all around the headband to where I got back here. And then when I get here, I will slip stitch this side to join the 2 sides, chain 1, work backwards where we just came from, and we're going to do a half double crochet in the back loop as well. And when we get here, we're going to do the same here, but we're not working in the back loop. We're going to be going through each one of these stitches just like that, all 6 of them, and then continue. Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and do that. I am going to build up about 4 to 5 inches of this part. So I would like you guys to do the same. When you get to the length that you're looking for, then come back and we'll go ahead and create a little bit of a band that's gonna go in here, attach it, and then we should be done. So I'm just gonna quickly stop here so I can show you guys how it looks like. So this is pretty much what your work should look like so far. Okay, a lot of people prefer this to be the side. If you want this to be the side, then you would pretty much transfer this guy up to here. If you want it to be on the side like I am, this is my left hand side, then you leave it like this. Also, if you want it on the right hand side, you would do it here. If you want it in the front, you would do it there. So that is all up to you. So this is how it looks like so far. I'm going to do about 4 to 5 inches of these stitches here. So we have already done a few. So from here pretty much to where I think I'm gonna have about this is 3.5, by the way. This part here is 3.5 inches. So 4 to 5 is gonna be super wide here, And when you have that ready, come back to the video, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to use the white color to create a little bit of a band that we're gonna put in here on the top, and it's gonna bring it in. Okay, so go ahead and do that. When you are done, come back and we'll move on to the next step together. See you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed a number of rows here for this part of the ear warmer headband. So as you can see, I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 rows altogether of that. And I think I said I wanted about 4 inches of it. So as you can see, it's about 3 something, but it does expand quite a lot. It actually goes up to about 5. Okay, so that is what we did there, and this is the end here. And as you can see, this is the section that we sectioned out. So what I'm gonna do right here is I'm just gonna fasten these off here. So we're gonna cut that off first somewhere here, and then I'm gonna fasten these off here, and this part is done. Okay, we're gonna weave in all the ends after. Like I said, I would make this here my back, and then this here will be my front, and then this is going to be the side. Okay, so in this case, this is gonna be the front, which means I'm gonna be wearing it like that. This is the back, this is the front, and then this is the left hand side. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a little bit of a loop that's gonna bring this part together like this. It's gonna pinch it in, and it's gonna make it look something like that. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring this color in. That's the color that we're gonna be doing a little bit of a band with. Okay, let's move these guys over to the side, off to the side, so it doesn't create a little bit of a, it doesn't create any distraction on the screen. Okay, so for this part, like you remember, if you remember, we did skip 6 stitches. So what we're pretty much going to do is we're going to create a band that is about 6 stitches as well. So we're going to start it off with a slip stitch, just like that, and then we're going to do a chain of 7. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. We're going to skip our 7th stitch, and in the 6th one we're going to go in the back and do our single crochet. So we're pretty much doing what we did with the band with this part of it here. So I'm just going to continue to do this to the end, and by the time we get to the end, it's going to be 6 stitches because we skipped the first stitch to start this first row. There's a little bit of a different yarn than what I used with the body of the ear warmers, but it's okay, we'll make it work. And this is gonna be, this project is great for when you have your hair in a ponytail, because it's gonna cover you fully. You still have your ponytail up instead of just your hair fully being covered by the hat. Okay, so that's the first row there. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then do the back loop single crochets. I'm going to do this for about 6 rows. When I get to 6 rows, come back. You will do the same. So come back after 6 rows, and when that's done, we will be able to attach it. But I want to try 6 rows first to see if it's going to be enough. If it's not going to be enough, we can always add more. But 6 rows is what I want to start with. And don't forget, here in the 6th stitch, you go through both loops instead of just the back loop, and then it creates a little bit of a neat end here. Okay, so this is my 2 rows. Go ahead and do 4 more, and then come back so I can we can check together to see if it's enough or not. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, I have completed 6 rows here, so I'm just gonna try it on to see if it's gonna fit. I don't believe so, because it looks, as you can see, it looks like it's gonna be too small, and it is true, it's still too small. So this is pretty much how we're gonna be putting it in. So let's do about 2 to 4 more and that should be enough. But also you could just try it on your work, okay? Depending on how long you did this, maybe 6 is enough, but it could be even more than that. So I'm gonna keep working on it and keep trying on it, and when I have the right size, I'm gonna come back so I can show you guys how to connect it together. Okay, so I will see you guys when we have the size of this completed. Okay guys, so I just tried mine on and it does fit the way I want it to fit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 rows altogether that I ended up doing. And again, all I did to see if it was enough was I just put this guy in that gap that we created. And if we were to join it here, it is enough. A little bit, actually a little bit loose, but that's okay because I want these to be able to kind of rotate. So we're gonna be able to fix these on here like that. Okay, so with that said, we're going to just kind of finish this guy off here. We're gonna cut the yarn anywhere here, not too much because we don't want to waste too much yarn, and we have the long tail on this side to be able to sew it together. So I'm just gonna fasten this guy off here and close that off. And so we're just gonna pretty much put this guy into this loop here, and it's gonna come out on the other side. And then we're going to line up our stitches here so we can sew it together. I'm gonna flip it like this because I'm right-handed, so I will be able to sew it on this side. And we just take our stitch marker, and not stitch marker, sorry, the darning needle or the weaving needle, and we just make sure you don't grab the actual project, the red part here. So we're just gonna go ahead and start by putting the needle right there and closing that part off, and we're gonna do the same there. As you can see here, I'm not going in the back loop or the front loop of anything. I'm just going through the 2 stitches, and I'm gonna do this all across until I get to the other side. And this is just the part that's gonna be, I'm gonna flip this so it's on the other side. You can still follow the same idea that I did to join the actual project, which was grab the back on one side and grab the front on the other side. But for this part, don't bother too much. It's not gonna be a big deal if you do it like this. Okay, then we're just gonna do one at the end here to make sure we secure it completely shut. And then that's done there. I'm gonna do one more just to make sure it doesn't come off. Okay, and then we're gonna remove our needle. We're gonna fasten these here. So this is how I do it. You can obviously weave it in if you'd like to weave it in instead, but I just fasten it like that, and then I take my scissors and I snip off these tails here. And what we're gonna do for this is we're just gonna rotate it so that side goes on the inside and the nice and cute side stays on this side like that. And for this color here, you could do it in any color that you wanted. I just happen to want to do it in red because this is more like Christmassy with all of these nice shiny glittery effect of the yarn. So to add the white was kind of a logical thing for me to do. So that is it there. So go ahead and weave in this part here, and I think that's the only part that we have to weave in. Again, what I do is I don't weave in the ends. I'm gonna make it shorter. Cut that off and make it shorter. I will split this yarn into half, so there's 4 strands altogether. I just split it in a half. I unweave it like this or untwist it. Then I will take my crochet hook and I will take one of the strands to the other side. So I'll just grab one of them and bring it to another side of the stitch if I can. The hook is too big. I could have probably grabbed a smaller hook, but it's okay. Like that. Oops, I think I brought both of them over there. Okay. Now that I have one on each side, one on the other side like that, I can then use it to tie this guy together once, and then I flip it on the other side and I bring each of them back onto the other side. So one right here right there. And I'm gonna go into another hole altogether and bring the second one to the other side like that. Now that I have it here, I'm gonna do the same thing here, but I'm gonna do a few more knots on this side because this is the inside of my project here, and I have a few. Then I just cut that guy there, and then I'll do the same with this one here. I'm not gonna show you guys how to do this one. You could do that on your own, but that is pretty much it. So this is how these I guess it's almost, I don't even know what you call this. I think it's like have a hat, have ear warmer, headband, whatever it is, but that's pretty much how it looks here. When this is mostly good if you have your hair on a ponytail, in a ponytail, and you want to have most of your head covered, but you want a space to be able to bring in your ponytail. What you could probably do as well, and I would probably recommend it if you want to have this kind of come in a little bit more tighter, is you can make a chain, and then you can actually put the chain around like this, and then when you have your hair on in a ponytail and your ponytail comes here, you can have, let's say, like a bow that you can pull, and then this part here comes tight. It's up to you, but that is how I'm going to leave it for this. That is also something I could always add later if I want to do that, or if I have the type of hairstyle that the ponytail is not too big, I can always just add that as a side thing. Okay, so that's pretty much it here, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end, and thank you for joining me and learning how to do this, what I call simple project. But if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I do very simple things, hence why I'm called Simply Angel Tiah. I try to target those of you who are learning to crochet, and just to show how you can create very nice, beautiful, complex things using very simple stitches. So hopefully you can subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like as well as comment if you have any questions, okay? And don't forget to hit the notification bell because you'll be notified of any video that I post in the future. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Kwaheri!